Okay, it's 6:05. I'm going to get going. And yeah, if anyone else joins us a bit late, that's okay. They can do that. So, good evening. Thank you for joining me for From Quietly Unfulfilled to Unapologetically Alive. And I'm going to give you a glimpse tonight into what it takes to stop living by accident and start living a life that you actually love. So, my name, for those of you that don't know me, is Sarah Jane McNaughton, and a little about me. It's going to change my slide here. Oops, too far. Sorry, my computer's a little bit slow tonight. Bear with me. So I'm a business coach specializing in solo business operators, a certified personal life strategist, and corporate leadership mentor. I'm the founder of Power Peace Prosper, Solopreneur Coaching, Ascendancy Executive Solutions for Leadership Programs, and co-founder of the Ascendancy Collective, a personal development community, which you're part of tonight. As a coach, I'm radically action orientated, which means I don't just help people have breakthroughs. I really help them turn those breakthroughs into actual momentum in their actual life. So I've trained and worked alongside some of the world's leading figures in the personal development space. I design and facilitate personal development programs, as well as things like retreats and workshops, which are the things that I really love to do, the in-person pieces, as well as speak on stages. In my previous life, in my corporate career, I spent over 10 years in corporate leadership, but much longer than that in the corporate space. I have an MBA and really understand what it means to perform under pressure, to be the one that everyone is looking to hold a very high standard and keep hitting it, even when you're running on empty. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I needed to learn. As I mentioned before, I'm a keynote speaker, and one of my expertise areas is nervous system regulation and stress management. Once again, one of those things you're going to discover today is actually the foundation of everything. Your nervous system is not just a wellness topic. It is the operating system of your entire human life. And most people don't even talk about it. They don't even get given the manual of how it works. So that's who I am today. Going to the next slide. Oops. You're going to have to bear with me, guys. This might happen all night. Hopefully not. But it didn't start here. In fact, when I rattle off all of those things, it still baffles me and makes me really grateful for my journey and really hopeful about what's possible for others. So a couple of years ago, it was quite a different story. So on paper, and I mean this completely sincerely, I had it all. I was climbing the corporate ladder. I was earning great money. I was traveling the world, buying properties. I was renovating my house, generally just kicking ass and collecting the markers of success that the world tells you to collect and feel like you're winning because you have them. I was driven. I was ambitious. I was an action-taking achievement machine. And I was also completely and utterly miserable. And I did everything to mask that misery because I should be happy, right? Now, at the time, I didn't see my impulsive behavior, excessive drinking, occasional 3-day long bouts of not being able to get out of bed, as connected to a life that I was completely out of alignment with. I had a divorce under my belt by 30, pretty normal, right? I consistently felt guilty for not being excessively happy and grateful for my awesome life and constantly anxious that it would all come crashing down and disappear. And people would find out that I didn't deserve this. And that anxiety was quite crippling. I ended up being medicated for depression and anxiety at one stage as well. Now, I just thought this is what life felt like. I thought the fact that I hadn't cried in years was a strength. I thought running at full capacity until I crashed and then spending days barely able to get out of bed was just the price you paid for being ambitious. And I laugh now because, like, who resonates with what I'm saying here? Does this actually ring a bell for anybody? Yeah. And it's kind of sad, right? So I didn't have the language for what was actually happening. I didn't understand that I had spent my entire existence, every decision, every achievement, every relationship filtered through a lens of fear. Now, my particular fears were fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of not being enough. I was waiting constantly for external validation, for someone to tell me I'd done enough, that I was enough. And I was looking for it in every place except the one place that it could actually come from to change the meaning in my life. So, on the outside, I guess I was a really independent, successful woman. On the inside, I was exhausted and anxious and deeply, quietly miserable. And I had no idea that that was the case. So who can relate to that now? Yeah. On the outside, success. Inside, I don't know what I'm doing. Hopefully no one finds out that I'm actually really sad, right? So then one completely ordinary Tuesday, I was 38 years old. I was sitting with some friends having drinks and dinner, pretty normal. And someone asked me, most out of character for them, by the way, a question. And it wasn't a big question, just a casual, offhanded, friendly question. What do you love to do? What really lights you up? And I opened my mouth to answer, and absolutely nothing came out. For the first time in my life, I could not even make up a response. I guess I became so aware in that moment that I had no idea. It really hit me like a freight train. You see, like most people, I have had big life defining moments happen. I've had traumatic events, things that have shaped my view of the world, but this very ordinary moment shook me to my core. I completely unraveled, and it woke me up from my autopilot subconscious slumber. I realized that contrary to my belief that I was in control, I had in fact spent my entire life becoming what was expected of me, performing, achieving, hitting targets, being what everyone around me needed me to be. And I had never once stopped to ask myself what I actually wanted, what I actually felt, what actually mattered to me, and how did I even get here? I was just like, how did I get here? This was a path that was laid out for me, and I thought I was making choices all the way through. It was so confronting. The simplest question in the world turned out to be the most important question I have ever been asked in my entire life. And in facing it, I came to another confronting realization, and probably the most liberating in hindsight, is that no one's coming to save me. I was going to have to be my own hero here. Okay, so then that sort of brings us to today, because what I did, I stopped. I just stopped waiting for perfect moments. I stopped waiting for someone to validate my decisions. And for the first time in as long as I can remember, and this is giving me goosebumps saying it, I stopped hating myself and I took messy, imperfect action. I went really deep into personal development, somatic healing, breath work, nervous system regulation, plant medicine, trauma healing, into everything I'd always been probably too logical or too sensible to even realize that they were there, let alone actually consider them as pathways for me. And slowly but surely, I began to change and experience peace and fulfillment, a life that actually felt like mine, purpose built. And so I would not change facing that simple question, because my life now is extraordinary and it's purposefully led by me. I am busier than I've ever been and I feel at peace. And I do all of that cool stuff that I said at the beginning as my day-to-day life. It's pretty wicked. So, and the cherry on top, I get to help other people now do this for themselves and build a purpose-built life for themselves. So that's exactly why you're here, right? So just gonna change slide. So my question, did we really come here to this one short, extraordinary life to work, pay bills, and die? I come back to this question all the time. If I'm like doing something that I feel like, oh, I don't really want to be doing this, this is one of the questions that I ask myself. And it's quite a big one. It's quite confronting. It just helps me steer the ship a little bit, because I don't think so. But here's what I see every single day. I see people who are capable of so much more, living so much less. And it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're not smart or driven enough. Most people I know are really driven, but because somewhere along the way, they actually just stopped living for themselves and started living for everyone else through a false lens of what it means to be a successful human being, right? And here's the really painful part. They got so good at it that they stopped noticing that that was happening. So here's something that I've really come to understand and something I genuinely live by. Achievement without fulfillment will never feel like success. And Tony Robbins talks on this better than I ever will. A great life requires two things: the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. You can climb every ladder, hit every target, build a business, buy a house, tick all the boxes, but you might still wake up at 3 a.m. wondering what the point of all this is. So that's not a motivation problem. It's not even a mindset problem. It's a fulfillment problem. And it's an epidemic right now. It's something that's really missing from a lot of people's lives. And again, something we don't talk about enough. So I want to talk about something again that some people never examine, and that's your programming. So as I mentioned before, we think that we are in the driver's seat of our own life. I thought I was. We think we're making data-driven decisions, that we're steering our life, but in actual fact, we are completely subconsciously driven. Our thoughts, feelings, emotions are completely based on past experiences and our lens of the world, not what is fact. And it happens before we can even consciously intercept it. So, who grew up hearing things like this? You can't have your cake and eat it too. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Keep your head out of the clouds. Beggars can't be choosers. Rome wasn't built in a day. Who has heard some of these or variations of these? Yeah, right. And now here's the part, to be really honest. Who actually believed some of these? Maybe you even made decisions to not do something because of some of these common beliefs, right? Yeah, me too. So this is what we call what we call conscious bias. We believe things because enough people around us believe them. We absorb them as children when our brains were wide open, and then we just carried them into our adult lives, into our decisions, into our dreams, or the ones that we actually gave up on. And here's what I need you to hear. None of it is actually true. Your default state is not struggle. It's not just getting by. Your actual human default setting, the one underneath all the conditioning, is abundance, success, fulfillment. You don't have to find or create those three things. They're already inherently there. We just put the most extraordinary collection of made up obstacles in the form of beliefs in the way. And today we're going to start dismantling them, because once I understood this, it completely changed my life. And I can't spend too much time here. I really do get into this in one of our other programs, but most of us walk around believing that we're in control of our lives, our choices, our emotions, our reactions, our decisions. And we simply are not. So we are, for the most part, running on autopilot. We're controlled by our nervous system and our subconscious mind that is operating largely below the level of conscious awareness. And, you know, those past experience, so I'm talking about wounding, I'm talking about fears, beliefs we formed before we were even old enough to evaluate whether they were true. All of it is shaping your thoughts, actions, choices, emotions before your conscious mind has even had a chance to weigh in. That is how the human system works. And once you understand it, you get to program it differently. You get to change the inputs. Think about your mind like a computer. From the moment you're born, it gets fed programs and data from your parents and teachers and your culture and your religion and all the things, right? Every experience you've ever had, especially the painful ones, the computer takes all of that, analyzes it, and spits out a result. And that result is your life. And the problem is most people are running programs they didn't choose, programs that were handed to us. And they've never once gone back and asked, wait, is this actually mine? Do I actually believe this? Is this who I actually am? Is this fact? Or is this feeling? Because they are not the same thing. Your feelings are not factual. Now, in addition to this, your nervous system is the main operating system of your entire human being. It controls your thoughts, actions, emotions, mostly the actions resulting from your thoughts and emotions. It also stores the memory. It controls how you handle stress. It is running the show, not your logical mind, not your willpower, not intention. And it's like hundreds of thousands of years old. It was not designed to make you happy. It was designed to keep you alive. And for the most part in human history, that meant one thing: don't do anything unfamiliar. Stay close to the tribe. Don't take risks. Comfort is safe, and safe means you survive. It has no idea the difference between real and perceived threat. So every single time you think about doing something bold, like starting a business, leaving a relationship that's draining you, saying, this is the year I'm actually going to do that thing that I wanted to do, your nervous system doesn't go, yay, how exciting, how can I help? It says danger, unknown, stop. And then if you're lucky, it shows you in vivid detail every time you have tried and failed anything before, just to give you that little stop sign a little bit more severely. And then we take that feeling, that voice that says you're not ready, and we mistake it for truth. And what I said about fact and feeling, we mistake it for truth. And we think because it feels scary, it must be impossible. We think because we failed before that, and that didn't feel good, that we don't want to do that again. Now, if you're sitting there resonating with this, don't make a new story. It just means that you are human with a very old nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do. So you don't see the world as it is. None of us do. We see it through a filter. Every experience we've had, every belief we've formed, every wound we've never fully healed. That's why two people can be in the exact same room and hear the exact same words and experience them completely differently, because they're looking through their own filters. Now, here's the good news. Once you understand how the wiring works, you can change the inputs, as I mentioned before. You can consciously intercept. You can step behind the wheel and start steering your own life rather than just being driven wherever the programming takes you. And that's what it means to stop living by this default status or this autopilot slumber, as I like to refer to what I was in, and you start living a purpose-built life. So I could talk about that all night, but once you fully understand it, you get to change your life from the roots. But the topic that what I actually want to do tonight is give you a couple of practical or some more conceptual things that you can actually take away from the call and think about and potentially implement. So I'm going to pivot here a bit because there are rules to the game of life that no one told you. And you can't win at the game if you don't know the rules. That's just plain and simple, right? So there are rules to, remember I said before, your natural state of abundant success fulfillment. So what I'm going to give you tonight is 4 of those rules, okay? These 4 are the ones that I believe are absolutely foundational for living unapologetically, which of course is the topic, right? Of actually getting into the driver's seat of your own life and building something that feels like truly yours. So are you ready for this? I'm going to change my slide. Number 1, rule number 1, feel the fear, do it anyway. So close your eyes for a moment. Just sit back and close your eyes for just a minute. And I want to ask you this. If you knew, like truly knew, you could not fail, if failure was completely off the table, what would you do? Okay, open your eyes. And whatever came to your mind just then, that's not a daydream, that's data. That is your inner compass telling you where it actually wants to go. And if nothing came up for you, I want you to ask yourself this question repeatedly until it does. In silence, no noise. And if nothing came up for you, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that you might have quite a few filters. But if you did have something come up, I'd love to know if it surprised you, how big it was. If you want to share what it was, feel free to do that in the chat as well. So what happens is that fear stops us, right? We want the thing, fear stops us. And I mentioned mine before, the fear of failure, judgment, and you will have your own. You'll have your own set of fears. So fear of stepping outside of what's predictable and safe. But here is the truth about fear. It's simply not real. It's a feeling. It's not a fact. It's your hundreds of thousands-year-old subconscious nervous system trying to keep you safe, not happy, safe. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about genuinely unsafe, dark alley at midnight type situations. In those cases, please let your nervous system do its job and get on out of there. But I'm talking about making bold moves in your day-to-day life. People who are living the life you want, the ones who are already doing the thing that you dream of doing, they weren't ready either. They were probably scared too, I'd say. They just started anyway. It is just as likely to work out as it is to fail. Your brain will always serve you the failure story first. That's biology, but it's not truth. The success story is equally possible. That is truth. It's equally real. So feel the fear, do it anyway. All right, rule number 2. You are not responsible for how others perceive your growth. Now, this one's really important. Not everyone will like your evolution or when you change something. Some people in your life are really only comfortable with the old version of you. The version that stayed small, the version that didn't ask too much or want too much or take up too much space. And when you start to grow, when you start to change, some of those people will feel threatened by it. That's their filters, right? That's their fears. Remember, they are looking through their lens. They might mock your ambitions. They might dismiss your dreams, try to pull you back into old patterns because your growth is making them uncomfortable about their own life. So we see this pattern again. Our antiquated biological response says, if I'm an outcast, I will die. So fit in at all costs. Your path is not for everyone to understand, but it is for you to honor. There is something like a 1 in 400 trillion chance that you will even be born. You're a literal miracle. And not becoming the best version of yourself, uniquely expressed, is a disservice. And this is where you get to have some real control on those inputs that I was talking about before. The people around you matter enormously because proximity is power. You might have heard that expression before. Who you surround yourself with will shape your energy, your mindset, and ultimately the outcomes, your life. So find your tribe. Find the people who celebrate your wins, who challenge your thinking, who genuinely want to see you rise. It's not a nice to have. That type of community is absolutely essential. All right, next rule. What you allow will continue. Sounds pretty simple, right? But every single day, you teach the world how to treat you by what you tolerate every single day. And I'm not just talking about how other people treat you. I'm also talking about what you allow from yourself. The self-talk that you tolerate, the standards you settle for, the dreams that you allow to shrink, the thing you thought about before, and then you go, oh, that's not important, or I can't do that, or that's impossible. The emotions you ignore. Who's really good at ignoring emotions? That was one of my go-tos, right? The promises to yourself that you break. So boundaries are not about being difficult. They are the highest form of self-love. They're not about being cold or closed off. Boundaries are about protecting your peace. They are the clearest possible statement of what you value and what you refuse to compromise on. Your time is really precious. Your energy is really precious. Your emotional well-being, precious. It takes a moment to destroy it and a long time to get it back. And some of you might have experienced that before. And if you keep giving those things away to people and situations that drain you, there'll be nothing left for you to build this beautiful purpose-built life I'm on about. So ask yourself honestly, what are you currently allowing that you know isn't serving you? What have you been tolerating that needs to stop? And that's where you start here. That's how boundaries begin to be formed. All right, I'm going to give you the golden rule. You ready for this? This is my favorite. It's a really big one. I could talk about this one all night too. So I'm going to keep myself to time here because it's incredibly important. And yeah, it needs its whole own webinar, but I'll give you the bits that you need to know. Everything, and I mean absolutely everything, is energy, frequency, and vibration. You would have heard this before. Lots and lots of people throughout history, lots of people in the personal development space talk about this concept all the time. But what does it actually mean? Well, your energy introduces you before you speak, right? It walks into the room before you do. Who's ever walked into a party and been instantly drawn to someone? No words exchanged, just like a pull towards them. And then equally, being immediately repelled by someone else without knowing why. That's energy. Your energy doesn't lie. That is fact. I was talking before about fact and feeling. So we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are in a vibrational sense. So then I'm talking about things like um, the emotions that we feel in our body and how they are admitted out as energy. So if you're not receiving all you desire in life, it's not because you're not worthy of it. It's because, and it's not actually because it's out of reach either, because everything is possible. It's because your energy or your frequency is not yet aligned to it. So, um, as I said, there is a way to measure the vibrational frequency of the emotions that we feel. So things like shame and guilt, for example, have a very low frequency. They were my personal go-tos back in my previous life, all the way up to things like your courage, love, joy, peace at the top. And the higher the frequency of what you are feeling, the more you pull towards what you actually want. So what does that mean practically? Another thing you might have heard a million times before, but what does it actually mean? Energy flows where attention goes. If you keep focusing on what's missing, why you're not enough, why you don't have it yet, why someone else has it instead of you, that lack is exactly what you'll get more of. Your attention is feeding it. But when you shift your focus, when you align your energy with what you do want, and this is why it's important to ask yourself questions like, if failure wasn't an object, what would I do? Like really ask yourself expansive questions like that. If you align your energy with who you're becoming rather than who you are, you start pulling that reality towards you. It's not wishful thinking, it's just how the universe works. I don't know. It's just a fact, not a feeling, right? And once you start working with that energy instead of against it, things really begin to move in ways that will genuinely take your breath away. So that is the 4 rules I wanted to give you tonight. Hopefully there was a couple of gold nuggets in there for you. And now I'd love to take you somewhere that you might not have been for a really long time. And we're going to have a look and see into your future, what you would love. A visualization. And I really want you to let yourself actually think about what you want, not what's practical, not what's logical, but what's, actually, not what's making sense on a spreadsheet or what other people need you to be. That's the words I was trying to find. Well, not the thing that everyone else around you needs you to be, what you actually want. Because most of us have really stopped allowing ourselves to go there because it's too painful not to be able to get it right. And that was my experience. I couldn't answer my friend's tiny question because I didn't know. We edit ourselves before we've even began thinking about it and shut the dreams down before they've had a chance to breathe. And that voice that says, but how are you going to do that? That's not possible. We can't do that, shows up too fast for us to intercept sometimes. And it might say something like, what if it doesn't work out? Or you can't do that. Who's heard some of those stories before? We can't do that. That's for other people. That's for really like successful, driven people, not for me. So for the next few minutes, I'm asking you to turn that voice off because I promise the actual truth is it's just as likely to work out as it is to fail. So we're going to do this visualization now. Obviously, if you are driving or walking or cooking or something right now, stop if you can. But if you can't, maybe just listen in and you might do this later. We're going to send a recording out in the next couple of days. And we're going to go into a future self activation visualization.
Okay, so let's begin by getting into a comfortable position. You're going to sit back in your chair, feeling really supported by your chair. Feet flat on the ground, eyes closed. taking a moment to breathe in deeply through the nose and out through the mouth. And we like to place your hands open on your lap, palms up, ready to receive. So take a slow, deep breath in through the nose, filling the belly first. And sigh out through the mouth. Take another deep breath in. As you do, notice if your jaw is tight. Unclench it, exhale, and release. Now a third deep breath in, bringing awareness to your shoulders. Let them soften and drop as you exhale. Feel your whole body grounding, settling. Return to your natural rhythm of breathing in and out through the nose. Present, calm, aware. Above your head, imagine a warm white light. This is your higher self, the version of you who already knows your potential, your deepest desires, and what's truly possible for your life. See this light begin to flow down over you, through you, filling every cell with clarity, presence, and power. It protects you. It reminds you. It shows you what's possible. Allow yourself to feel this deeply. Your higher self already knows the way. Now, imagine there are no limits, no fear, no barriers. 6 months from today, you have created your life purpose-built. Your dream life. See it clearly now. Where are you? What does your environment look like? The colours, the textures, the details. Who is there with you? What relationships surround you, support you, and celebrate you? What are you doing with your days? What kind of work? Is it creativity, passion, or something else that fills your hours? How does your body feel in this future life? Strong, energized, vibrant? Take a deep breath in through the nose. And exhale. Breathe in the emotions of this vision. Whatever they are for you, really allow yourself to feel them fully. Let them expand through your whole body. There are no limits. There are no barriers. Anything and everything is possible. Spend a moment now walking yourself through your perfect day in this life. From the moment you wake up, what do you see and hear around you? What time is it? How do you feel? How do you move through the morning, the afternoon, the evening? Really picture it, vivid detail. Step yourself through your day. Who's there in your perfect day? how do you contribute to the world? Let every sense be alive. Allow yourself to fully experience it as if it is already here. Deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Your higher self is here with you. They already know what is possible, what is true. Now bring your hand to your heart. Feel its steady rhythm, the anchor of your truth. And silently or out loud repeat after me. I am in control of my life, and I create it with intention. I am worthy of living my biggest dreams. My future is already unfolding, and I fully claim it now. Take a final, deep, beautiful breath in, and exhale fully. Begin to bring awareness back to your body, back to this space, to the here and now. You may wish to wiggle your fingers and toes. Notice the surface beneath you. And when you're ready, slowly open up your eyes.
Our data, because I really want to ingrain that while we have thoughts and feelings and emotions, it is all just data points, and we get to do something with data. We get to read it, interpret it, change it if we want to. So what you experience is not just a fantasy, it is data. That is your inner compass, the truest part of you, telling you exactly where it wants to go. That life is not out of reach. It's not reserved for other people. It's not too late, and you are not too far gone. It is just waiting for you to choose it. I definitely suggest also writing it down or voice noting some thoughts after we finish tonight to capture what came up. Because like I said, that is just data. That's what's possible for you. And I just want to leave you with one last thing before we talk about what's next, because in a moment, I'm actually going to tell you about something really exciting that's coming up with the Ascendancy Collective. But what I want to tell you is that you are allowed to want what you want. That is okay. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to build a life that actually excites you, not a life that looks good to other people. That's what makes it the unapologetic alive, right? Not what makes logical sense on paper. Not the one you fell into because it was safe and familiar. The life that when you wake up in the morning actually feels like yours. It feels like peace, no matter how busy you are. The person you just saw in that visualization, that's the real you. You are the miracle. You are a miracle. So the question is no longer whether it's possible, it's are you going to choose it? So I'm going to spend a few minutes now talking about our 2-day summit. But before I do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about the two incredible women that I am building this community with because they're pretty extraordinary. So first of all, we've got Karina. So Karina's story is quite extraordinary, and she's actually unfortunately wasn't able to make the call tonight, but she has experienced events in her life that would shake anyone to their core. Yet she has come out stronger. Her expertise lies in dealing with grief and trauma and resilience, identity rebuilding, and self-leadership. She's the founder of the Sophie Effect, following the loss of her daughter. She's a keynote speaker and has been featured on prominent podcasts and publications. Her coaching approach is authentic and empowering. And the reason I love her is because she will meet you exactly where you're at, without judgment, no matter what you're carrying. She is an example of what's possible when you choose to fight for yourself after adversity, when it's easy to fold. And then Ree is on the call tonight. She can give us a little wave if she feels like it. Rhiannon has spent over 8 years in film and television and deeply understands emotion, human emotion, more and behavior at a level that most people never will. She spent 10 years working with children, giving her an extraordinary insight into how our earliest conditioning actually forms, the stuff that's been running your life since you even had words for it. She's an international MC. She studied mindset and identity work with the Proctor Gallagher Institute. And her superpower is helping people shift patterns in real time. And the reason I love her is because she operates with genuine authenticity and instills the childlike joy we're all missing as we grow up. She's equal parts determined and the ray of sunshine you didn't know you needed. So absolutely love working with these two women. So between the three of us, you've got certified transformation coach, nervous system specialist, world-class grief and resilience expert, pattern identification and breakthrough facilitator. The transformation we're creating over the 2 days in the summit requires depth across multiple dimensions because we're doing something that's you've probably never seen before. It's going to go mindset, identity, grief, pattern work, emotional intelligence, nervous system regulation. No single person holds all of that, but together we do. And that's why we've come together. So that is the room that's being created. Now, let me tell you what happens inside it. The 2-day immersive experience is designed to do one thing. Maybe I've got a slide on this, so I can't tell you the whole agenda, but it's designed to do one thing, to take you from where you are to who you were always meant to be. So over 2 full days of live expert facilitation, you're going to go through a process that most people spend years and tens of thousands of dollars trying to piece together on their own. We have done that work for you. We've taken everything we know between us and how the human mind and body actually works, how identity is formed and reformed, how grief and fear and resistance live in the body, and how to shift all of it from the root cause. And we have built a 2-day journey that is unlike anything you've experienced before. Now, I worked with a trauma expert once, just deviating for a sec, who said something to me that's always really stuck with me. Trauma is formed in isolation. Even if you were not physically alone when the event occurred, you felt alone or unheard at the time. And therefore, trauma cannot be resolved in isolation. It takes support. So that's why we create rooms like this. So what's included? I'm going to give you the things that are in there, and then I'll tell you the results you're going to get. So as I've mentioned, you've got your 2 days full live expert facilitation in a carefully curated environment. You're going to have materials, workbooks, resources, everything you need is provided. We're going to give you incredible content. We're going to give you frameworks, tools, processes. These are things you use for life. There's a 30-day post-event integration guide as well. So integrating your knowledge and feeling supported as you make change is really critical to the longevity of your transformation. I mentioned the importance of tribe earlier, access to the Ascendancy Collective community, your people, ongoing. And there's a group integration call really to lock in what shifted as well. So keeping that live connection open as well afterwards, which I think is something that sometimes can be missing when we go through experiences of personal development. So you can tell I'm excited about this, right? I love multi-day events and retreats because the mix of intensity and immersion create enough impact to actually create lasting change. That's why these sorts of things are really impactful in our lives. So what are you going to walk away with? Let's talk about what it means for you, right? Clear understanding of exactly what has been keeping you stuck. I was talking about the filters and lenses before, the autopilot slumber. We're going to go into that. We're going to figure out what it is. We're going to remove it. We're going to specify the thing and address it. Practical tools to shift your emotional state and your energy on demand. Remember what I said about energy today. Freedom from the specific fears and the limiting beliefs that have been running your life. So this is about them no longer being in the driver's seat, and we're going to put you behind the steering wheel again. Reconnection to who you actually are and what you actually want. You know, what lights you up? What do you love to do? Have you asked yourself lately? Have you given yourself space to explore it? An honest picture of where your life currently stands. You might have noticed I'm fairly direct in my approach. I'm going to show you where you are now and where you get to be, and I'm going to help you map the gap between that, because that's really important. We can talk all day about what we want, but I'm going to actually show you how to do that. And we're going to define your identity, the one that you want moving forward. Completely different relationship with emotions like fear, like grief, like anger, resistance, because those things are not enemies. They're just data like everything else. And we're going to teach you how to read the data and use it powerfully. And you're going to leave lighter, clearer, with a plan. Now, the single most impactful thing that I ever did for myself, more than any books or courses or modalities I explored, and I rattled those off at the beginning, was getting myself into rooms with people who were operating at a level above where I was and where I wanted to be. People who stretched me, who challenged me, who inspired me, who made me feel for the first time in my life that it was not only safe to be completely vulnerable and completely authentic, it was actually celebrated. And I know what it's like to go through a personal transformation journey alone and to be upgrading and up-leveling and changing, because that's what we're doing, right? That higher self that we called into the visualization, that's where we're aiming for. Being surrounded by people who don't really understand what's happening to you, who feel threatened by it sometimes as well, and who kind of want the old version back because it's more comfortable for them. It's a cold, lonely place to be. So, you know, what we have created with the Ascendancy Collective is the opposite of that. It is a room where you're not only accepted but seen, where your growth is not just tolerated, it's the entire point. And I mentioned earlier, proximity is power. Who you put yourself near will shape who you become. That's not motivational fluff. That is how human beings work. That's how we actually function. And if you're someone who's feeling a bit of misalignment right now in your life, in your relationships, in the gap between who you are and who you actually want to be, more importantly, who you're capable of being, I want you to hear me when I say that this event is that room. It's that room that we're creating. And I genuinely, hand on heart, believe it could change the direction of your life. So we have 2 dates coming up for the Ascend Summit. Just going to pop a cute, that's us. This is the 2 days that we've got. So they're both in August. We're going to do a virtual on Zoom. So 2 days on the weekend on Zoom. And then we've got an event. It's going to be in Brisbane. And there's definitely going to be more coming up, but they're the 2 that we've got locked in at the moment. So the investment is $649 for the whole weekend and everything included that I mentioned. As a webinar attendee, you do receive 10% off though. So that brings your investment down by 10%. And you just need to pop the code word ascend webinar in at the checkout in order to claim that 10% off. So for some of you, I get this is an absolute yes, you're ready to change your life, you're in. Some of you, I know this is absolutely not your scene at all. Fair enough. Thank you for being here. And we wish you so much joy and love in your life. And some of you will be weighing this up. Can I justify the cost? Am I free that weekend? Maybe it's too confronting to be in this room. And all I can say to you is, you are a living, breathing miracle. Are you living like it? And how much is staying where you are going to cost you? It might not be worth it. It might not be enough. But for some of you, it will be. So the link to secure your place, I think we'll just drop that into the chat as well. Like if you're having any problems with the QR code, you can go through the link that's going to go into the chat now. Just takes a few minutes. And yeah, to be clear, we're talking about $600 and 2 days out of your life. So, and it's the thing that most people won't do. And another saying that I love to live by is to have what others don't, I must do what others won't. So places are super limited on this, especially for Brisbane, because of it's, an in-person experience. So it only works with an intimate size. And we're not feeling like a big conference center. We're being very intentional with the space that we're using and building this room that I keep talking about. So if you have any questions, I'm right here. I'm going to take some questions in a moment on the event or anything else from the content tonight. You can drop that into the chat. And I just have that final question for you. Because you came here today ready for something else, to hear something else. I'm going to leave you with this question, the same little one that rattled me. What do you actually love to do? What truly lights you up? And I just invite you to sit on that and add a third one. When are you going to choose it? When are you going to choose to get it? So thank you for being here tonight, giving us your time. I hope it was valuable. I'm just going to check the chat for questions and whatnot as well, and just double check my slides here. We also do have another event. It's called Ignite. It is a half-day event. This one's $29. It's going to be next Sunday and the following the following month in July on the Saturday. So that's a half-day event. Again, we'll drop the link for this in the chat, and I'll also send this out with the recording. And the other thing I'd invite you to do is join our school community. It's completely free. All of the recordings from any webinars that we do get dropped into school. You can access them at any time. You can obviously chat. We are, like I said, building this community of beautiful souls. So you can be part of that if you'd like to. And yeah, just connect with other people that might be on the same journey as you. So that's the school community. And I will take any questions. I am going to stop sharing my screen and go to the chat. I'll be honest, I haven't checked the chat for some time. Oh gosh, there's some beautiful shares. Sorry, I'm just reading these, guys. I'm just checking if there's any questions. But yeah, that's it from us for tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, just reach out if we can help with anything. See you guys later. Right on 7 o'clock. Look at me go. I thought I was going to be overtime for sure.